All right, everybody, how's it going? We had to talk about this Brittney Griner situation. Now, initially, I didn't want to talk about this individual. I don't care about Brittney Griner. I didn't even know that she existed as a human being, up until she got arrested and whatever, and all that stuff went down. I generally just don't like to give rich douchebag celebrities any attention. I don't want to signal boost their activism. I don't want to make them richer, and I do all those things by talking about them. However, this is going to impact the 2024 election, and it may very well play a small role in the midterms, but not likely, but it's possible. So really quick, Brittney Griner, who is she? She's just a WNBA player, and she hates America. She hates white Americans. She hates President Trump. She hates America's rich and beautiful history and heritage. That is who she is. She's just a typical Democrat, essentially, except she plays sports, and she's an activist. She's like a female LeBron James, essentially. So let's just go ahead and talk about the first story really quick. It's pretty relevant. So by attacking Brittney Griner, Trump signals to his base, "I'm still a racist." The former president is reconnecting with his fans by using an old playbook: demonize a black athlete, lie about who they are, and reap the benefits. No, none of that is true. This is literally all fake news. He didn't lie about her at all. He stated that she's spoiled, which isn't a lie. She is. She is a millionaire, very popular, high-profile athlete. Well, high-profile as of now because of her anti-Trump activism. And she went to another country and committed a crime. She was convicted of that crime, and she pled guilty to that crime. The evidence was overwhelming, and now she expects to be released because of her celebrity status. She expects to be released from behind bars in Russia and not be held to account for her actions because she has the correct opinions. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a spoiled brat to me. And her skin color has nothing to do with it. President Trump never made any sort of reference or comment to her physical appearance, so that is a lie. And then, of course, he states that she went in there loaded up with drugs. Yes, it is true. Into the hostile territory where they're very vigilant about drugs. They don't like drugs, and she got caught. And now we're supposed to get her out, and she makes a lot of money, I guess. We're supposed to get her out for an absolute killer and one of the biggest arms dealers in the world. We'll get into that later. Little of this is true. Actually, all of that is true. Griner did not show up loaded up with drugs, but with 2 vials of hash oil. That's literally not true. That's not true at all. It was a lot. She had quite a bit on her. But that's besides the point. That's besides the point. So this happened a few days ago as of making this video, and it gets worse, you guys. It gets worse. So let's go to the second story, because she was just sentenced. She was just sentenced, you guys. Brittney Griner, according to ESPN, sentenced to 9 years in Russian prison. The prosecution, they demanded 9.5 years, or they asked for 9.5 years, and the judge, of course, granted it. And Brittney Griner will not. She'll get like 8 and some change because the time that she's been in prison already, that's going to count towards her sentence. So yeah, it's not 9 years. It'll be like 8 and some months. So I went through this whole article, and it's basically, she said, "I love my family," as she's leaving the court or whatever. And she had a very cold, blank stare on her face. She looked lifeless, motionless, and she's been very quiet, and she hasn't been speaking a lot. She's incredibly stressed. And I guess, they're trying to cope. And within the first paragraph here, it was just like, oh, now that she's sentenced, this is going to accelerate a prisoner swap. They're on the brink of making a deal with the United States government, and Brittney Griner will be getting out of prison any day now, and we'll see. Now let's talk about the political implications of Brittney Griner being released from prison, because this is a big deal. It is a lot bigger than I initially thought it would be. And again, I thought, Brittney Griner is pretty much a non-entity in the grand scheme of things. However, this might impact the trajectory of the 2024 election, and it may impact the midterms if this happens before the midterms, which is it's possible, guys. And first off, the situation shows Joe Brandon as very weak. It shows him as vulnerable. It shows him in a position that is not enviable, and he's got no leverage. He's got nothing. He's going in there completely naked, and it is not good, and people notice. So initially, Joe Brandon says, "We want a CIA spook that you have behind bars, and we want Brittney Griner, and we'll give you the Merchant of Death." It's this Russian gun smuggler who's been in prison for some time now. Yeah, really bad dude. And Russia resoundingly rejected that proposal. That is a bad deal. So not only is he, making a horrible deal, but it just signals that he's weak. His position sucks, and he's bad at this. He is really, really bad at this. And people notice. People notice, and it doesn't look good. It's not attractive. Of course, Russia counters with their own offer. You're going to give us a merchant of death, the Russians say. And you're also going to give us a spy who was convicted of murder in Germany. You're going to give us these 2 Russians, and we'll give you Brittney Griner. Now, that's the smart thing to do. They're going to hang on to the CIA spook that's behind bars, and they're going to use that as leverage in the future. That's a future bargaining chip, if you will. Again, they're way better at this than Joe Brandon ever will be. Joe Brandon, he sucks. He's no good. I mean, it's not even amateur hour. It's I don't know what the fuck I'm doing hour. I got the job by accident hour. I had nothing to do with it. I just ended up here in the White House, and now I'm, supposed to be handling these very complicated deals and situations, and my pants are down essentially. So yeah, this is bad. This is really, really bad. So let's say he takes that deal. It's going to alienate independents, nonpartisans, and of course the right, the Republicans, etc. They're already just blasting Joe Brandon for even suggesting that he's willing to do any of these things, for there being the illusion that he might make these deals. And by the way, he might make that deal. He might give up the Merchant of Death and a murderous spy in exchange for Brittney Griner. And nonpartisans, independents, etc. They're going to break for the Republican Party. They're going to make a mad dash to the Republican Party because this is clearly a lopsided deal. One party stands to gain way more than the other. I mean, just let's look at this logically for a second. Does it make a lot of sense to exchange a murderous spy and a very dangerous gun smuggler who made the world a very dangerous place to live in? Does it make sense to exchange these 2 individuals for a douchebag, overly privileged female athlete who hates the United States, who hates white Americans, who antagonizes her political opponents, people like myself? People notice these things. That is a bad deal. However you feel about Brittney Griner, and I know like I might be in a minority, even among, fellow conservatives, people on the right, because I see a lot of conservatives saying like, oh, well, Brittney Griner would never have been, punished by the Russians if Trump was still in office. President Trump would have taken care of this, as soon as it happened, and I would actually be very displeased if President Trump went out of his way to defend somebody like Brittney Griner. I probably would jump off the Trump train. That is how egregious her actions are. I'm so sick of these douchebag, overly privileged celebrities thinking they can go anywhere they want and do anything they want and not face any accountability. Brittney Griner needs to be held accountable for her actions. I am sick and tired of women not being held to account for their actions. They need to be punished. Brittney Griner needs to be punished. You can't just disregard the laws of another country and then expect to get away with it. But that's how these Democrats are. They think they are above the law. They think that the rules do not apply to them. And no, I'm sorry. I would be off the Trump train if he stuck his neck out for her. And I liked what he said. Yeah, she is a spoiled brat. She is a spoiled brat. And I think a lot of people are going to notice that as well. If Brandon were to go out of his way to help get this person, off the hook, it would look very bad. It would look very bad. However, 2024, this is why I keep saying this is like a lose and lose some more type situation. If Joe Brandon does nothing, which would be the right thing to do, by the way, if he does nothing, Brittney Griner being left behind in that prison in Russia, it's going to alienate the far left. And Joe Brandon absolutely needs the far left to win. He needs elements of the far left to win. And not just independents and nonpartisans, etc., but he needs a far left. And if they break away from him, it's GG. This happened in 2016. Obviously, Hillary Clinton alienated the far left, or the more populist left, the people who were on Team Bernie before he sold out. Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, they alienated those people. They antagonized them. They made fun of them. They made no, they didn't want to cut deals with us. And they antagonized us, so they left, or we left, and we were driven into the loving arms of President Trump, and people like me never decided to go back. The left is going to abandon him. They're going to absolutely abandon Joe Brandon, and it's going to be hilarious. Hold up. All right, yeah. Sometimes there's like this weird sound that comes through. I just wanted to make sure that I don't hear it. So, anyways, yeah. I mean, this is just a lose-lose situation for Joe Brandon. But there's other elements to this that some of my fellow contemporaries aren't really talking about, and that is the grave hypocrisy. President Trump alluded to it, of course, by calling Brittney Griner a spoiled brat. But Hunter Biden enthusiastically films himself doing hard drugs, very hard drugs. He's cutting it, he's smoking it, he's snorting it, he's doing all these things. And then, of course, Brittney Griner, she brings, illegal substances, a lot of them, to Russia. And, they expect to not be held accountable for their actions. Both of these people are literally being handed get-out-of-jail-free cards. But there are a lot of Americans who have been negatively impacted by our drug laws, regardless of whether or not you think they're just or not. The Democratic Party used to want to reform drug laws. They wanted to do leniency for people who've been convicted of possession, pardons, forgiveness, etc. They wanted to make the lives of people who've been behind bars or who are currently behind bars, they want them to be off the hook. But you have somebody in office like Joe Brandon who championed like the massive crime bill, the anti-drug laws, drug law bills, etc. That helped put a lot of people who look like Brittney Griner behind bars for a very long time, and their life afterwards is negatively impacted as well. So I mean, this is bad. This is bad. The hypocrisy. I just wish more people would notice. Even I think some people on the left kind of notice it. It's like why do people like Brittney Griner and Hunter Biden they get the mountains are moved for these individuals. Just so they can't be held to account, but like his core base, his voters, the people that they're trying to appeal to, they're left behind. Once the Brandon regime gets the support from the groups that have been negatively impacted by these policies, once he gets their support, and then once Joe Brandon gets what he wants, then he completely disregards them. But if you have the correct opinions, if you're one of the high-ranking members of the Democratic Party like Brittney Griner or Hunter Biden, you can get away with it. You can get away with all these crimes. And you won't be held to account for it. And everybody's expected to be patted on the back for this. I wish Democrats could notice, the trickery that is happening right before their eyes, the hypocrisy that is being, deliberately, dangled in front of them in a mocking manner. If you're a member of the Democratic Party, you are being mocked. They are laughing in your face. And maybe they should be. I think I would be laughing too. So, yeah. Any way you slice this thing, man, this Brittney Griner situation is no good. It is no good for Joe Brandon. I think the best thing to do would just to be to leave her in prison. Honestly, it'll blow over. But the far left, he will lose them. But if he does, release her, he's going to lose a lot of independents. He's going to lose a lot of nonpartisans. I wouldn't put it past them to get her out after October. That would be possible. So they'll lessen the damage that's already expected to happen in the midterms. But if they do it before the midterms, it's very likely that a lot of the nonpartisans independents will break for the Republican Party because they're actually sane and they wouldn't be willing to make such a lopsided deal. And the Russians are doing everything right, man. And also it signals to the Russians, we are willing to stand up for our own people, regardless if they're right or wrong and whatever they were doing. We're willing to, we're not going to leave you behind. So that looks good for Russia. Russia, they're backing their own. Joe Brandon, on the other hand, if he goes out of his way to save someone like Brittney Griner, it is incredibly divisive. It is incredibly controversial. So there's already issues in even going after her. But at least he doesn't leave certain Americans behind. But certain Americans have been left behind, and it's a big ordeal. But if he does nothing, then it just signals to the rest of the world. It's like, well, they're not going to go out of the way to save their own. Like I said, man, this is not an enviable position at all. I almost kind of sort of want to feel bad, but not really. Fuck Joe Biden. What do you guys think? Is this situation as dire as it seems, or is this going to end up being really like a nothing burger? Do you think she will be released, or do you think she's going to remain in prison? What do you think is going to happen? I'm really curious. All right, guys, peace out.